Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Soul Land, two peerless Tang men based on novel. So let's start. Moreover, they didn't think of harming Huo Yuhao and Tang Wutong. Both of them came from Shrek Academy. If they harmed them, how could they account to the Academy? Because of this, they underestimated their opponents and didn't give it their all. The heavenly son Doluo returned, but he looked a little pathetic. The icy meteor had sent him extremely far away. At that instant, he couldn't resist, even though he wanted to. He could only muster his soul power to protect himself. When he finally accumulated enough strength to unleash a powerful soul skill, the icy meteor blew apart. The explosion didn't hurt him, but pushed him even further away. Undoubtedly, this was the result of Huo Yuhao's immense spiritual control. The rest of the title Doluo didn't pursue Huo Yuhao and Tang Wutong, as they had lost track of their auras. Furthermore, they were all in disbelief right now. Who would have thought that two youngsters, who were barely 20, would manage to break free from an encirclement of more than 10 title Doluo? They even managed to escape before any real fight had begun. The White Tiger Duke was also wide-eyed in shock. When he saw the frustrated Heavenly Son Doluo, he was a little speechless too. Heavenly Son, should we pursue him? A title Doluo from the Douling Empire asked. When the Heavenly Son Doluo saw the Golden Road, there was an uncertain expression on his face. After a brief moment, he said in a weird voice, "When we went to the Sun Moon Empire, we only had one target: assassinate Shu Qianran. Eventually, the body Doluo sacrificed his life to bring everyone back safely. This matter will end here." After hearing the Heavenly Son Doluo's words, the White Tiger Duke heaved a sigh of relief. Without a doubt, the Heavenly Son Doluo had compromised. His words meant that he wouldn't pursue this matter any further. He would take it as if nothing had happened. This was undoubtedly the wisest choice. At least, they wouldn't offend Tang Wutong and Huo Yuhao any further. This wasn't because of how much the Heavenly Son Doluo admired Huo Yuhao. More importantly, it was because of the terrifying powers that he had revealed. He was already so strong, even though he was barely 20. If he was able to escape from the hands of more than 10 title Doluo now, what would he be like in 10 years' time? There was no longer any way of seeing through him. Even the rank 97 Heavenly Son Doluo felt fearful because of him. Yes, fearful was the right word to use. Right now, they were sure that he was bound to become the person who would truly control Shrek City in the near future. He was definitely going to become an ultimate Doluo. At least his abilities were unheard of, even for the body Doluo, when he was at Huo Yuhao's current age. Huo Yuhao had twin martial souls, of which one was an ultimate martial soul, and the other was a spiritual type martial soul. His soul skills were immensely strong, and he even had spirits, something that he had come up with on his own. Undoubtedly, he was a generational figure of the Doluo continent. No one could see through him anymore. The White Tiger Duke walked in front of the Heavenly Son Doluo. He sighed and said, "It seems like we were really wrong. For someone like Huo Yuhao, we can say that he is a product of destiny. If he disagrees with something, it should be wrong." The Heavenly Son Doluo's facial muscles twisted and he said, "That rascal. He was really merciless. I was almost hurt just now. If I knew he was so strong, I would have gathered all the strength we could and attacked Shu Qianran. We might have succeeded." The Broken Star Doluo laughed bitterly. "If someone had told you that he was that strong, and could even resist you, would you believe it? You wish. I'm going now. Those from the Douling Empire, come with me." The Heavenly Son Doluo didn't want to remain any longer. He took advantage of the night and quickly left with the title Doluo from the Douling Empire. A few days later, the news that the three empires from the original Doluo continent had sent many soul masters to the Sun Moon Empire to assassinate Shu Qianran, along with news of the body Doluo's death and Shu Qianran's critical injuries, quickly spread throughout the entire Doluo continent. The Sun Moon Empire's army also started to act weirdly after that incident. According to the intelligence gathered, many soldiers seemed to have been deployed within the Sun Moon Empire. It felt like something serious was about to break out. Both Huo Yuhao and Tang Wutong were in the Sun Moon Empire right now. After leaving the Mingdo mountain range, they took Shuqianran on one round before they returned to the Sun Moon Empire. There weren't any title Doluor with them this time. The two of them were thus more agile, and managed to sneak their way back within the Sun Moon Empire's borders. Little Yunhan was sleeping very sweetly. It was only at dawn on the second day that he woke up in Huo Yuhao's arms. When he opened his eyes, he was about to cry. However, when he saw that he was in Huo Yuhao's embrace, he smiled as he screamed, "Daddy, Daddy." Huo Yuhao caressed his head and softly said, "Call me uncle. I'm not your father. I'll make you something nice to eat later. After you finish, I'll send you home, all right? Go home and find your mom." "Mommy, Mommy." Little Yunhan screamed twice, but then his eyes turned red, and he started to cry. Tang Wutong snapped, "It's all your fault. You triggered him by mentioning his father." In the end, the temptation of food was much greater to a 1-year-old kid compared to the temptation of meeting his mother. When Huo Yuhao made his signature fish soup and fed it to little Yunhan, he stopped crying. He was delighted as he feasted on the fish. Even though he was barely a year old, he was already very big. He ate a lot of fish and even drank the fish soup. He was extremely joyous. However, Tang Wutong and Huo Yuhao's inexperience with kids was still exposed. Yunhan had peed all over Huo Yuhao's body, and only left him with a warm but wet feeling. They didn't have any children's clothing. They could only strip little Yunhan's pants, before using Huo Yuhao's shirt to wrap him up. As he flew into the sky again, and proceeded in the direction of Radiant City, Huo Yuhao sighed, "Bringing up a child isn't easy." Tang Wutong laughed and replied, "I wonder who it was that said that he would take care of our kid in the future." Huo Yuhao chortled and said, "It's not easy, but I didn't say I'm not going to do it. If you are willing to give birth, I'll take care of every child that you bear." Tang Wutong turned red. "Wishful thinking. You have to earn my father's approval first." Huo Yuhao laughed, "For someone as outstanding as me, I don't think I can fail even if he's extremely picky. When we return this time, let's invite him over." Tang Wutong gently acknowledged his words. The two of them were in a rush. When they came close to Radiant City, they were both stunned. In just 2 days, the eastern suburb of Radiant City had been completely filled with soldiers. At least a few 100,000 soldiers were gathered there. From afar, Huo Yuhao felt as if Radiant City was like a monster that was brewing with anger, as he sensed it with his immense power of destiny. This monster was ready to bare its fangs at any time. Huo Yuhao turned serious immediately. It was indeed like he had expected. The Sun Moon Empire had no intention of compromising because of Shu Yunhan's disappearance. On the contrary, the Sun Moon Empire seemed to have been enraged. Many soldiers were gathered here right now. Without a doubt, they were here to reignite the war. A large-scale war couldn't be reignited at will. Although the Sun Moon Empire had been accumulating their strength for some time, they would still need to deploy a large number of reserves if they wanted to deploy their troops suddenly. They couldn't do it immediately, but it wouldn't take them long. Tang Wutong turned grim too. It seems like the Sun Moon Empire is going to attack more ferociously than before. I'm afraid it's going to be more difficult to deal with them. Huo Yuhao nodded and said, "Even if we didn't snatch the crown prince, I believe Shu Qianran would have attacked a few days after the ceremony. But now, they have even more reason to do so." Tang Wutong looked at Shu Yunhan. "What should we do then?" Huo Yuhao replied, "No matter what, we need to bring this fellow back first. I've said before that war has nothing to do with a kid. This is a confrontation between adults. I'll protect my empire and do my best to resist its enemies. However, I won't do anything lowly. We'll enter the city and return the kid." Sneaking into Radiant City this time was far more difficult than the previous time. After the assassination incident, the city was under very strict supervision. Many more aerial surveillance Sol tools were installed, completely covering Radiant City. It felt as if a big war was about to break out. However, this didn't stop Huo Yuhao. No matter how strong the aerial surveillance soul tools were, there were still flaws that he could exploit. He managed to find a flaw within an hour, and led Tang Wutong as they snuck into Radiant City before proceeding toward the Imperial Palace. They couldn't remain in Radiant City for a long time. They would leave quickly after returning Little Yunhan. Sun Moon Empire's Imperial Palace. Juzi quietly sat in her own inner palace. Right now, she was dressed like a warrior, clad in armor which was specially designed for her. It was a Class 9 soul tool. Among Class 9 soul tools, it was also one of the better ones. Even with Juzi's current strength, which wasn't more than a soul sage, she could temporarily possess the title Doluo's defensive capability and mobility for a short period of time using this set of armor. But Juzi was just sitting there holding a few sets of tiny clothes in her hands. She touched her cheek to the fabric and gently rubbed the clothes against her cheeks as transparent teardrops splattered down. Her eyes were full of despondence and helplessness. Even though she was an empress, she could clearly feel in this moment that there was nobody in the world who could help her. Yunhan, are you all right? Have those people hurt you? My son, where are you? No matter how tough a woman could be, she would still become incredibly weak and fragile when her child was involved. Xu Qianran was unwilling to compromise for her, and there was no arguing the matter. Even though Juzi had an extremely exalted status within the Sun Moon Empire's army, she still couldn't go against Xu Qianran, who was the true ruler. She wouldn't get her son back if Xu Qianran wasn't willing to compromise, and she knew that Xu Qianran would make the same decision even if he had been the father of her child, though he might hesitate for a little longer. Xu Qianran. What an evil king. If my son dies, then one day, I will destroy you. Juzi bit down on her lower lip as her body quivered incessantly. Her tears had already moistened the tiny clothes in her hands. The war was about to start, and she was waiting for the army to gather. She hated Xu Qianran, and she hated those who had kidnapped her child even more. She wanted to go crazy, and she wanted to tell those who had kidnapped her son through war that she would annihilate everything. Yes, a woman who had lost her child was absolutely one of the most frightening living beings on earth. There was no exception. Where are you, Yunhan? Do you know how much I miss you? Yunhan, my son, I will save you even if there's but the slightest chance. I will save you even if I can no longer be empress, and I can no longer have my revenge. You are my life. Tears flowed from her cheeks like a waterfall, and Juzi could no longer control herself. Are you really going to give up on your revenge? A gentle voice traveled into Juzi's ears. Juzi trembled as she jumped up from her bed. This was her bedroom, the Empress bedroom. There were many powerful individuals standing guard outside. Nobody could enter her bedroom without being discovered unless it was Xu Qianran himself. But this voice is just so crisp and bright, and it's familiar. Juzi's originally blurry and teary eyes immediately became sharp, and she placed her child's clothes to one side. She pressed something to her chest, and a rose helmet immediately rose from both sides of her shoulders and completely covered her within. Don't be nervous, it's me. Ask your guards outside to leave and open the door. I want to see you. That gentle voice rang out once more, and it was even more familiar this time. Juzi's eyes suddenly narrowed. She could tell who was here, and an incredulous look appeared in her teary eyes. She was like a statue, as she remained fixated to the spot. She only reacted after several full seconds had gone by. She covered her mouth so she could force herself not to scream out loud, and patted her chest with her other hand continuously so she could calm herself down. She had no idea why he would appear inside the Sun Moon Empire's royal palace at a time like this. But his appearance was like a lifeline to her, in all her helplessness, grief, and agonizing. She felt like someone who had been drowning, who had just grabbed onto a floating piece of wood. She forced down her emotions after a few moments as she walked to the gate and opened it before she lowered her voice and said, "Leave, all of you. I want to be alone for a while. If I even hear anyone's breathing, I will hang you." Her 4 servant girls, who were already quiet and shivering with fear, hurriedly took their leave. They were very aware that the Empress' mood hadn't been good for the past few days, and nobody dared to infuriate the goddess of war at a time like this. Juzi pushed the gate open and stood at its entrance. She still wore a grievous expression on her face with traces of tears down her cheeks. She didn't know how long she had to keep the door open for him to come in, but she couldn't possibly ask all her secret guardians to leave. That would be too obvious. "All right, you can close the door." That familiar voice rang out once more. Juzi shut the door and walked back into her bedroom. Two silhouettes that flowed like water appeared out of thin air. "It's him, it really is him." The tears that she had just held back flowed out uncontrollably once more when she saw who had come to see her. But she didn't leap over in the end, because there was a figure next to him who she was familiar with and full of jealousy. "It's really you, Yuhao. Why have you come?" "Mama?" A small arm, that was like a tiny white lotus, reached out from within Huo Yuhao's arms following her greeting. Juzi's voice froze. She stared at Huo Yuhao in disbelief, and then into his arms, and she became like a gust of wind as she dashed over and took the child from Huo Yuhao's hands and into her own tight embrace. Juzi began to bawl uncontrollably. The corner of Huo Yuhao's mouth curved into a faint smile as he watched mother and son reunited. His smile was filled with satisfaction, and no matter what he had given and the decisions he had made for this, he believed that everything was worth it. Huo Yuhao had lost his mother when he was just a child, and he knew how painful it was for a child to lose his or her mother. He watched as little Yunhan and Juzi were reunited with each other. He watched as this mother held her son so tightly in her arms. Huo Yuhao's heart was content, and he could almost see himself in his mother's embrace when he was a little child. Tears continued flowing down Juzi's cheeks as she hugged little Yunhan. The past 2 days were almost like 2 centuries for her, and not in her wildest dreams did she expect him to send her child back to her. But in this moment, her precious son who she loved so much was the only person in her heart and in her eyes. Huo Yuhao wasn't worried at all, and he was just standing there quietly with Tang Wutong next to him. Tang Wutong went up to his ear and whispered, "I'll go outside. You should speak to her." She released Huo Yuhao's hand as she spoke and stepped out by herself. She had grown up and matured since she had regained her memory, and she knew when to let go of her man. It was like flying a kite. No matter how far the kite flew, what was there to be afraid of as long as the string was still in her hands? Juzi cried with little Yunhan in her arms for a long time. The little fellow was very well behaved, and continuously wiped his mother's tears as he stared at his mother with large, confused eyes. Something that he said finally stopped Juzi's tears. "Daddy, did you bully Mommy?" Juzi was stunned, and her tears stopped just like that. Huo Yuhao said a little awkwardly, "I don't know why he keeps calling me that. Perhaps fate has brought me together with this little fellow." Juzi muttered blankly, "Fate, fate. It truly is fate." Huo Yuhao coughed and said, "I've sent your child back to you. I think you can guess what happened, and I have to leave as soon as possible. But you have to fabricate a story about how the child has returned so that you won't bring trouble upon yourself." He turned and walked out as he spoke. Even though he knew he shouldn't be doing that, watching Juzi crying agonizingly with her child in her arms reminded him of the child's father, the Sun Moon Empire's emperor, Shu Qianran. He didn't know Wang Dong was Wang Donga when he first met Juzi. She could be said to be the first girl to have entered his heart, but Juzi couldn't let go of the resentment and hatred in her heart, so they lost their chance to get together. Juzi chose Shu Qianran, but just as Huo Yuhao had left a deep imprint in her heart, Juzi had also left her mark on him. "Wait," Juzi stopped Huo Yuhao. Huo Yuhao paused in his tracks. Juzi stared at him, and her lips trembled as she asked, "Why?" Huo Yuhao heaved a sigh and said, "This child shouldn't be harmed by the war. I lost my mother, and I know how painful it is. In the beginning, I didn't know that this mission's target was actually your son. I would have stopped them from the start if I did. I have returned your child, so you must take care of him in the future." Juzi bit down on her rosy lips as she stared at him with a complicated look in her eyes. "What are you asking for in return?" Huo Yuhao smiled as he shook his head and said, "If I make any requests of you, then what difference is there between those who kidnapped your son and me?" Juzi's eyes became a little dazed. "But did you not see the thousands and thousands of soldiers gathered outside Radiant City?" Huo Yuhao's eyes suddenly became sharp. "Perhaps we can only be enemies in this lifetime. But even if we are to be enemies, I can only meet you face to face on the battlefield. I will not use your child to threaten you." Juzi lowered her head. "You'll be in quite some trouble for bringing the child back, right?" Huo Yuhao shook his head and answered, "I will deal with it. You don't have to worry." Juzi took a deep breath and raised her head bravely as she stared into his eyes. "If I had agreed to leave with you back, then instead of staying behind to chase after Shu Qianran, you would have chosen me and not her, right?" Ha was naturally referring to Tang Wutong, who was outside. Huo Yuhao turned his head and looked out. He had no intention of hiding anything from Tang Wutong, so he didn't want to cut his voice off from the outside. "I don't know. I didn't know she was a girl back then." Perhaps Huo Yuhao had just said those words when Juzi dashed over with little Yunhan in her arms and fell into his arms. She hugged her child with one hand and wrapped the other tightly around him, and her tears began to flow uncontrollably once more. Huo Yuhao was momentarily stunned, but he didn't have the heart to push her away in the end. Juzi mumbled, "I regret it. Yes, I regret it. Only in that moment, when I lost my child, did I realize that revenge isn't the first priority in my heart. When a person truly falls in love with another, that person can forget about his or her revenge. If I could make that choice again, I would have made a different one. I'm sorry, Yuhao, it's my fault." Huo Yuhao was stunned. His heart ached agonizingly as he listened to Juzi's words, but they both knew that there was nothing in the world that could reverse their regrets. Huo Yuhao patted Juzi's back gently before he struggled out from her embrace. He heaved a faint sigh, but said nothing more as he turned to walk out. He had already decided, but he was also looking back because of Juzi's words. Her words made him feel a little uncomfortable, but "Daddy, hug." That babyish call stopped him once more. Huo Yuhao turned around and glanced warmly at little Yunhan in Juzi's arms. "Be good, Yunhan. You have to listen to your mother." Little Yunhan opened his arms. "Daddy, hug." Juzi's voice was trembling. "You should hug him one more time." Huo Yuhao hesitated, but finally walked back in front of Juzi and took little Yunhan into his arms. For some reason, this little baby's cries seemed to touch something in his heart. Huo Yuhao hugged little Yunhan, and the baby naturally planted his tender cheeks on Huo Yuhao's shoulder. That appearance was exceptionally cute. Huo Yuhao patted his back softly, and his eyes became increasingly warm and gentle. Juzi began to cry even more uncontrollably when she saw that. She truly hoped that time would just freeze in this moment, that this moment would never change. But the child was finally returned to her arms, and she didn't even know how Huo Yuhao and Tang Wutong left. Little Yunhan fell asleep in her arms. He was sleeping very soundly. This little fellow had always been very adaptable. Juzi's lips trembled as she repeated the same sentence to herself. "He is actually your." Huo Yuhao and Tang Wutong snuck out of the Sun Moon Empire's royal place. If Shu Qianran found out that somebody could enter and exit his royal palace at a whim like this place was uninhabited, who knew what he would think? Of course, that was also because Huo Yuhao and Tang Wutong came in just for a spin, and they weren't executing any actual plans. Certain especially sensitive and powerful soul masters could discover them as soon as they could sense hostility and murderousness. Huo Yuhao and Tang Wutong maintained their cool from the beginning to the end, and that was one of the most important reasons why they could enter and leave so peacefully. "I didn't expect you to like that child so much," Tang Wutong whispered softly. Huo Yuhao turned around as he gently caressed her long hair. "You're jealous?" Tang Wutong shook her head and said, "No, I'm not. Since she's missed her chance, then that chance will not come back again, not unless time begins to flow backwards. Otherwise, you can only be mine." Huo Yuhao laughed. Even though Tang Wutong said she wasn't jealous, was she really not? Tang Wutong's next statement expressed her mentality. I will definitely bear a son for us in the future, Tang Wutong said resolutely. Huo Yuhao chuckled. That needs to happen. But I will love our child all the same whether we have a son or a daughter, and I will love them like I love you. Tang Wutong pouted obstinately. You have to love me the most. Huo Yuhao guffawed. Why are you competing with our child? They left Radiant City and flew into the air once more. They went back and forth between Radiant City and the Mingdo mountain range within 2 days. Only they could bear such a burden with their Class 9 flying-type soul tools. Tang Wutong's face gradually became solemn as they raced through the sky. Yuhao, how do we account for this matter when we return? I think they might complain to the academy. If they accuse you of collaborating with the enemy. Huo Yuhao shook his head. They won't, they are not so foolish. I was using spiritual detection over the main peak when we left, and I stopped only when we left its range. They had no intention to chase us, and this means we won't run into much trouble. These titled Doluo all have their own statuses and identities. Do you think they were very willing to capture little Yunhan? The truth is, no one there felt comfortable in their hearts, including the White Tiger Duke. What we have done simply helped them make that decision. Besides, what good will accusing me of treason to the academy be for them? We have already displayed sufficient strength. Furthermore, the academy has always protected their incumbents, and the titled Doluo know that too. The war is about to start up again, while the Doluo continent's 3 native empires are hoping that we'll help them fight against the Sun Moon Empire. If I were them, pretending this matter never happened is the best outcome. Tang Wutong stared at Huo Yuhao with slightly dazed eyes. You have already thought about all this long ago. Huo Yuhao shook his head. No, but I can still make a rough judgment. Face and dignity is very important for titled Doluo. Furthermore, the strength that we have displayed is sufficient for them to pay attention to us. They will need reconnaissance skills like mine in the war to come. I think the Do Ling Empire and the Heavenly Soul Empire's titled Doluo have already left. So let's go back to the Mingdo mountain range for a bit, and we can prove our hypothesis. We can also pass on the news that the Sun Moon Empire has gathered its armies, and consider that making up for our transgressions. Tang Wutong heaved a sigh. Won't they think that the Sun Moon Empire is gathering their armies, because we have returned the Crown Prince? Huo Yuhao chuckled and said, do girls become stupid when they get jealous? Silly girl, why do you ask such silly questions? First, the White Tiger Duke cannot make an erroneous judgment like that with his intelligence. How can the Doluo continent's 3 native empires not know that Xu Qianran was making sacrifices so that he could restart the invasion? Their attempt to assassinate Xu Qianran was meant to stop this invasion from happening. Tang Wutong hit him gently and said, you're the one who has become stupid. It was dusk when they returned to the Mingdo mountain range. They had traveled several thousand kilometers back and forth over 2 days, and they also had to avoid the aerial surveillance soul tools in their way. They were even engaged in battle. Both Huo Yuhao and Tang Wutong were extremely spent, despite their cultivation ranks. They landed outside the White Tiger Duke's tent. Huo Yuhao used spiritual detection and quickly found the Duke, who was still dealing with military matters. To be safe, Huo Yuhao didn't go to see the White Tiger Duke directly. He used his concrete material spiritual power to conjure a projection to enter the White Tiger Duke's tent. The White Tiger Duke was still dealing with military matters that were coming in from everywhere. He had assumed control over the entire Western and Northwestern field armies, and could be called the #1 man in the Star Luo Empire's military. He had status, reputation, and was widely respected, while he controlled more than half of the Star Luo Empire's armies. He was probably the most powerful man beneath the Emperor. The White Tiger Duke seemed to feel something as he suddenly raised his head. He saw a shadow appear not too far from him, though it didn't make any sound at all. The White Tiger Duke was startled, but he was commander of the 3 armies, and his heart and mind were very calm. He identified the visitor after his initial astonishment, and heaved a sigh of relief. Yuhao. Lord Duke. Huo Yuhao bowed slightly. The White Tiger Duke's expression immediately turned black. You dare to come back? Are you aware that what you have done means a dozen titled Doluor have achieved nothing in their mission? Huo Yuhao said plainly, I am simply doing what I think is right. Duke, did you not think that there was something wrong with the plan? I will tell you the same thing. Kidnapping the crown prince doesn't achieve anything unless Shu Qianran is also dead. I have also proven this point when I was back in Radiant City before this. The Sun Moon Empire has already begun mustering their armies, and they will probably invade very soon. The White Tiger Duke was momentarily stunned. You returned him? Huo Yuhao nodded. The White Tiger Duke sighed and said, so be it. At least I'll feel a little better. The Heavenly Sun Doluor has said that this will be the end of this matter, and we shall pretend that this mission never happened. Therefore, you don't have to worry about anything. Huo Yuhao smiled faintly and answered, I wasn't worried about much in the first place. But I still have to thank you, and the Heavenly Sun Doluor. The White Tiger Duke said, you can say that to him yourself when you see him again. Huo Yuhao continued, the Sun Moon Empire's armies have already been assembled. I'm afraid they will launch an all-out invasion in half a month to a month. I don't know if their target is the Heavenly Soul Empire, or if they're going for the Star Luo Empire. Therefore, you have to be more careful. The White Tiger Duke frowned and said, the Heavenly Soul Empire is on the brink of annihilation, but the truth is, the Star Luo Empire is also faced with a great impending calamity. The Sun Moon Empire's invasion means the Heavenly Soul Empire is in danger, but we aren't that much better. Huo Yuhao fell silent. He knew what the White Tiger Duke was talking about. The Heavenly Soul Empire's situation was the worst for the moment, as 2/3 of their territory had been conquered. The Star Luo Empire seemed prepared, and their armies seemed ready. They had 100,000 soldiers along the border, and they even had a natural stronghold like the Mingdo mountain range to fortify. But was all that really the truth? The Sun Moon Empire had conquered much of the Heavenly Soul Empire's territory, and part of that territory was where the Heavenly Soul Empire had bordered the Star Luo Empire. Even though it was a hilly area, the ground was a lot flatter there compared to the Mingdo mountain range. If the Sun Moon Empire wanted to attack the Star Luo Empire, they would naturally launch an invasion from that side. The Sun Moon Empire could attack both the Heavenly Soul Empire and the Star Luo Empire, and both parties would find it incredibly difficult to defend themselves even if they gave everything they had, no matter which side the Sun Moon Empire chose to attack first. This video will end here.